So, autumn in the Lake District has well and truly arrived, and like many photographers, I'm currently participating in the annual headless chicken chase to try and photograph the autumn colour before it disappears. So far, I've not had a great deal of luck. The other day, I had a lovely walk up a hill that I wanted to photograph for a little while. As you can see here, I didn't get a great deal of light, although frustratingly, the light was great on the way up. And the morning that I filmed this video, there was a really promising forecast for fog, so I spent the first hour and a half, again like a headless chicken, driving around trying to find some. I didn't succeed here, so what I did was head to a favourite woodland of mine where I knew the colour was going to be exceptional. So I've had a bit of a false start this morning, just kind of chasing my tail a little bit, trying to find fog. It was forecast on the weather apps, but having driven around a fair few places this morning, really hasn't been any. Bit of low cloud around, but nothing great. But anyway, I've got the coffee in hand and I'm re-energized, so looking forward to this shoot this morning, I think. All right, midges, still midges. Yeah, this morning it's looking reasonably promising. There's little pockets of clear skies above me. I'm hoping for a little bit of light in here, to be honest. Although in saying that, I think in this particular place that I've come to, it's not that essential. The colour's more important than the light, I would say. Now, I was saying in the last video that the colour looks a little early this year. Coming here, well, I was here yesterday actually doing a half-day session. Lovely fella, Andy, if you're watching, hello to you. You had some great conditions yesterday, by the way. I've come to this spot because, as I say, I don't really think it needs light a huge amount. It's more the colour and the depth in the pictures that you're looking for. Light would be nice, obviously. But yeah, I'm going to try and be efficient this morning because my actual time to do photography over this autumn period is quite limited. I've got a couple of days, well, today and tomorrow, and then I might have a couple of days next week, but other than that, I'm going to probably struggle to get out, so best try and make the time count that I've got to me. So anyway, this scene behind me, I've shot this many times, but you won't have seen it on the channel. Shot here last year with a group, and it was very green. Now this year, colours are more developed. I think it works much better, so I think it's worth filming a little bit and show you what I'm looking at. So we'll have a look at this shot. So this shot, now I was saying there, I've shot this scene quite a few times before, so compositionally I've kind of got it figured out already what I want to achieve. Now there's the usual pitfalls that you've got to kind of avoid in a woodland, things like limbs crossing over each other, trying to get as much separation out of the prominent parts of the scene as you can, which in this instance you've got the two sort of prominent trees in the bottom right. Main thing is getting those separated off from each other, and then you've got this other prominent, it looks like it's probably on its way out, this tree. The one on the left, that one is key as well. Got the little kink in it, making sure that the top part of that is separated off from the trunks behind as well. Now I'll show you one that I shot last year at the same time. It just gives you an illustration of how the colours change from season to season, and you know, keep saying about the colours being early this year. Last year, this scene when I shot it didn't really work so well because the lack of colour depth in the back end of the picture means the picture looks a bit flat basically. Shooting it here, we've got a nice transition of colour through the scene from greens and yellows in the foreground area to darker reds and oranges in the background area. I was saying there about, I was doing a session yesterday with Andy, and one thing we were talking about is it's important when you come into a woodland, I think, to find where the pockets of light are. It's easy to get too far into a woodland and get too deep into it where the light can't penetrate. I'm on the fringes of the wood here where light can easily get in. We haven't got mist today. Now mist is kind of the cheat sheet, I guess, for woodland photography. We haven't got that today, but what we're trying to do is get some depth into the scene through other means. In this instance, I'm using colour and I'm using light to create the depth. That earlier example I showed you, I didn't really have either of those things, whereas I think today this scene works a lot better. Now in terms of the focal length, we're at about, what we at, 50mm. I've said this before on the channel, rarely will shoot wider than 40-50mm in a woodland. There's occasions when you can, but the scene's really got to work for that. Most of the time I find the sweet spot in a woodland is around about 50-90mm, more representative of what your eye is seeing. And in this instance, that's working out perfectly. Focus wise, I want the focus to just drop off ever so slightly into the background. I don't want everything absolutely pin sharp here. So where we're focusing at is basically that second prominent tree on the right hand side at about f8, and just letting it very gently fall out of focus. It'll be sharp enough in the back end, but I don't want it pin sharp, because again, we want to try and create that depth in the picture, and if everything's too sharp, the eye doesn't really know where to settle. I was saying about the blue skies creeping out. I don't think I'm going to get any light here, so I'll take this shot and show you it, and then I may, because this is on the way back to the car, I may take this shot again if the light pops out. So you may see two versions here, but anyway, hopefully this works out. Here's the picture on the screen now. So, shot number 2, and I'm having to be on the ball here. I've made a couple of schoolboy errors. One, I've put the down jacket on, not expecting rain, and now we're getting showers. And two, I should really have brought the umbrella here, because the rain's just causing a few issues with wiping the filters. I should say here, all of these shots I'm taking today are using case polarizer and black mist filter. Now the black mist filter is doing a really good job here with softening the highlights. The shot itself, again, this is another one that I've shot a few times before in the past, so I kind of know what to expect. Now I'll just pause you there, because I'll just take this shot because the light's just popping out. Oh. I hope that has turned out all right. It's just about perfect at the minute. Right, I'll just try that again. Got to be quick here. So this composition, as I was saying there, I've shot it before, so I kind of know what to expect. Couple of things that, you know, aren't ideal, but, you know, a lot of this stuff, especially in a woodland, a messy, chaotic environment, you're going to have to make a lot of compromises. And this is definitely one here. There's a couple of prominent oak trees to the left-hand side, and they're almost a bit too dominant. Sometimes in woodland scenes, nice big oaks on either side of the frame can often make a nice kind of bookend to the picture. In this instance, though, they're just a little too close to me and a little too dominant. So the way I've composed this is basically they're out of the frame. Now the trunks, not the trunks, the branches arching over the main subject, which are coming off those two dominant trees, they're acting as kind of a natural frame to the top of the image. And then I've composed it in such a way that, as I said, those two dominant trees are out of the shot. I'm actually in a 5:4 aspect ratio. I might end up cropping this to a square. I've got the main subject tree off to the left hand side slightly, and then where the sun is just popping out in the top right corner, That's just adding a nice softening effect to the image. And then, as I say, having this case black mist filter on is just softening those highlights nicely. So yeah, all in all, not a bad picture. I mean, in a perfect world, I'd like, lovely mist and all that sort of stuff. But I think compositionally, this works quite well. It's one of those that you've got to take a chance on sometimes. Not all shots are going to come off, obviously, and this one is a little bit of a 50-50 one for me. There's also one little sapling in the, well, I wouldn't call it the foreground because I'm shooting again at about 50-60 millimeter, but there's a sapling just in the front part of the image here, and I've just moved across to the left slightly so it's not overlapping the main subject trunk, so there's just a little bit of separation there. But yeah, not a bad image. I think I'll take this and then we'll move on and see if I can find something else. So this is shot number 3. Now I've stopped here not because the conditions are really good. In fact, to be honest, right now they're far from ideal. The lights actually got even flatter, but mainly just, I guess, as a bit of a learning point to show you the difference when you've got good light and how it can affect the depth and dynamism in a woodland scene. Now, I mentioned before that I was out on a shoot yesterday doing a session with Andy, and we came across this scene here, and Andy got a great shot of this. Very different as well to the composition I've got actually set up here, even though we were basically stood in the same spot. But we were here yesterday, and just, I guess, probably through blind luck, that we were at this spot at the perfect time for when the sun was just cresting over the top of the hill here, and this scene in front of me was getting backlit, and just the colour was just absolutely fantastic. Now today, as I said, the light's flat. It's still quite a nice scene, and I guess the lesson here is do your homework on your compositions and do your requiem, because this composition I think really works, but just in better conditions. The shot itself, we've got this nice little row of trees here, and the first one of this row of 4, in these conditions, because the light's flat, it's a little jarring to me because it's much lighter in tone than the other 3. Now I'm going to get people in the comments here telling me that they actually really like this and all that. I'm not disagreeing with you, each to their own with this, but for me personally, I think in the current conditions here, I don't think this scene works that well. We have got some subtle tones here that work, because obviously we're in the middle of autumn, and the polarize is helping to bring that out, and as well as the black mist filter just sort of softening the highlights. So it does work, as I say, I think personally as a composition, but I think the light needs to be better, basically, because the one I shot yesterday, now I'll put that on the screen at the end of this little segment, as well as the one I'm going to take here, just to show you the difference. But the one yesterday, I think, just had a lot more dynamism to it. It was a lot more eye-catching, basically. But as I say, let me know in the comments, see what you think. You might prefer this one, I don't know. What I was talking about earlier in terms of not getting too deep into a woodland where the light can't penetrate, this is kind of a good example here, in that because the light's flat and we're not on the fringes, the light can't get anywhere into this scene, which is also not helping this image kind of work for me. So I'm going to take it, and as I say, more of just a recce shot, and I'll put the picture that I took yesterday as a bit of a grab while I was with Andy, just so you can compare. So let me know what you think anyway. So here it is. Right, I think I'm going to wrap this one up here. Not a bad little shoot, that. Conditions weren't great, to be honest, but I was saying before, I'm a little time limited this autumn, so I'm just going to get out and shoot as much as I can, whatever the conditions. Just bumped into a fellow photographer there, Hugh Orban. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Just had a nice chat to him, lovely fella. Go and watch his channel if you can. But yeah, not a bad shoot. A couple of nice images, I think. And we'll have to see what else autumn brings. Colour's lovely right now. If you're coming to the Lake District, I'd say another few more days and it'll be just about peak colour, I would say. Just got to have all the fingers and toes crossed for no more storms like the one that came through the other day, because it's seen off a lot of the birch trees, I would say. But a lot of the older oak trees in the sheltered areas are not too bad. So yeah, anyway, if you've enjoyed this one, keep liking and subscribing, and I'll see you again shortly on the next one.